Hey friends, I'm Kristina Guerrero, former small-town girl with dreams of Hollywood and red carpets and a belief that I could make those dreams come true. So I did. But life had more in store for me. From a drinking problem to getting sober, then a breast cancer diagnosis, and finding God, I discovered a strength in me I never knew I had. I wrote a memoir about my life she believed she could. So in each episode, I'm sharing one chapter from my story. From page to podcast, this is She Believed. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to She Believed. I am your host, Kristina Guerrero. This is episode 9, and I cannot believe that we only have one episode till the very end. Of course, this has been such a fun and therapeutic journey. I can't tell you how many times that I've been here on this chair talking to all of you and have made revelations about my own healing and my own experience, things that even in all of the therapy that I've done, all of the introspection that I've done, and all of the writing my memoir that I've done, that I am still discovering so many new things about myself and about my experience. And it's been such a gift to be able to share that with you. I guess in a way that makes y'all my therapists. So So thank you for your services. Do you take insurance? So today is episode 9, and this episode, I was going to say really hits close to my heart, but it literally hits close to my heart because it's right next to my boob. You know, I joke when I'm uncomfortable. Have we discovered that? You know, I went through that experience 2.5 years ago, but it really happened so quickly. And the full experience happened so quickly. I spent most of it in a daze. And so I wonder if maybe that's why it doesn't feel real, is because I maybe never really fully experienced it. My own, preservation, my own survival instincts to compartmentalize, to not really put my whole self into that experience as a way to survive the day to day. And also, shoot, I had to survive, right? Life or death. So before I read the chapter, let me just give you a little context about where we're picking up. So at this point, I've been diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer, and I'm having to undergo a unilateral mastectomy, which is basically the removal of my right breast, my right boob. Should I just read the dang chapter? Just read it. Okay. This chapter is called Keeping a Breast. Play on words. See, my humor is... sometimes it's just not appropriate. I had to check into the hospital by 6 a.m. My surgery was scheduled for 9 in the morning. My eyes were puffy with dark circles from exhaustion, and my skin was pale and dull, completely depleted of any sort of circulation. I had to shower before my surgery, so my hair was wet when I arrived at the hospital, which was only a 7-minute drive from my house. After signing endless paperwork, we took the elevator to the second-floor waiting room. Gibby made jokes to keep the tense mood light. He made me laugh, and I was so thankful I had him with me. When it was time to get prepped for surgery, I asked if he could come with me. I couldn't stand the idea of laying in the hospital bed alone, waiting for the nurses to wheel me back. They said he could come back after I was prepped. I undressed, removing the spiritual gangster jacket that read Warrior on the back, which I wore as if it was my superhero cape. I slipped into the robe, put my damp hair into the hair cap, and put on some fuzzy socks to keep my feet warm during the procedure. My nurse was an absolute hoot, and I was grateful she was kind and funny. She asked if I believed in God. I said yes, and she prayed for me. Gibby was allowed back, and we waited until my surgeon arrived. Gibby assured me that he would be there when I woke up. The surgery would be a few hours, so he joked that it was just enough time to walk across the street to the bowling alley and get in a quick game. I told him to go home, but he said he wouldn't leave the hospital until he knew I was out of surgery. Tears rolled down my face as the nurses rolled me away. How did I get here? How was this even possible? As soon as the anesthesia hit my bloodstream, I was out. The next thing I remember was waking up in the recovery room in a daze. They got it all out. It's gone. The cancer is gone, Gibby said to me, his forehead pressed against mine. He was holding my hand when I came to. I nodded. and the tears wouldn't stop coming. The next morning, I felt pretty darn good, if I might say so myself. Well, that wasn't so traumatizing after all, I thought. I pulled out my phone and decided to record how I was feeling. I had been in such a state of shock since the start of this whole thing that I began documenting my experience. I often see the world through sound bites, setup shots, and B-roll. It's practically hardwired in me since I've worked in television for over 20 years. I spoke about feeling surprisingly good. Sore, of course, but emotionally solid. When I acknowledged that I was probably just in denial, the tears started coming. I was stuck between compartmentalizing and reality, and the whole thing played out while I was recording. Gibby brought me coffee, and we watched my show, The List, since it replayed at 10 a.m., and I'd filmed it before my surgery. Kristina on TV was all done up, smiling and confident, but underneath her pretty navy blue dress was cancer. Kristina in the hospital bed looked like she'd been hit by a damn truck, but she was cancer-free. I was overwhelmed by my emotions, all those weeks marching on like the good little soldier I was, keeping it all in, but the thought of taking off the bandages made me feel like it was the only thing that was holding me together. Literally. The bandages were the superglue keeping me from falling apart. I was in quite a bit of pain in the beginning. The medications I took to help alleviate that pain made me very tired, so I slept a lot. I was grateful for the sleep. The more I slept, the less time I had to be awake and aware of all that had transpired. It was days before I finally brought myself around to take the bandages off that wrapped around my chest. The thought of showering was terrifying. The idea of my body being exposed for the first time was too much to handle. But I was pretty grimy, and I'd gotten past the point of being able to go one more day without showering. The steam from the shower filled the bathroom as Gibby patiently and gently helped me undress and unwrapped the bandages. I kept my eyes closed. I couldn't bring myself to look at my body. And again, he held me as I cried. I'd rather poke my eyes out than be vulnerable or ask for help. It's why I've spent so much of my life putting on a brave face, a huge smile, and bouncing around like nothing is wrong, even if everything in my life is falling apart. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I don't need anybody. I've got it all under control. But at this moment, I had no choice but to fall into Gibby's arms, quite literally naked, imperfect, in pain, both physically and emotionally, and unable to stand on my own 2 feet, utterly incapable of being anything but totally and completely broken and vulnerable. Oh, okay. I think that day in the shower, I broke down so much in that moment because because I had been holding it together for the last 4 months, and it was too much for my body to handle holding it in anymore. And I didn't want to cry, and I didn't want to be vulnerable. I felt like if I did, I wasn't going to stop. I felt like if I did start to cry, if I did start to acknowledge the reality and the severity of what I had just gone through, it was going to be too much to bear. But I just couldn't anymore. I couldn't hold it together anymore. And I'm so grateful that Gibby was there with me to be with me in that moment and to be with me through the whole entire journey. So here's what happened. So I found out that I had breast cancer through a routine mammogram. Get my mammogram every year since I was 40. So this was my third because I was only 43. My plan was to go get it for my birthday, which is in early October. And life happens and kids happen and work happens and things just kept coming up. And so I kept pushing it back and I kept pushing it back and I kept pushing it back. And I finally made my appointment for mid-December. And let me tell you, the reason I made my appointment for my mammogram that year had nothing to do with me being a responsible woman and going to get my mammogram. It was because I am an anxious woman who relies on my Lexapro, which is my antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication. I mean, we've gone over the last 8 episodes, I've been telling you about my anxiety and how I need to medicate for that in a doctor-approved way, for the record. Anyway, and my Lexapro was going to run out. And I'm like, my Lexapro can't run out. That's the fuel that keeps me moving from day to day. And the only way I could get a refill was to go to my doctor. And I was like, well, might as well go get my mammogram while I'm there. So I do the mammogram, bada bing, bada boom. I'm all done. I go on my merry way. So a few days later, I get an email from my doctor and it says, hey, we just want to check something out. We want to take another look. Can you please call us to make an appointment? Maybe for a lot of women, you might get that and you go into full panic mode and you're like, what's going on? What's wrong? Go to worst case scenario. I like totally went the complete opposite way, which is I have to make another appointment. It's obviously not going to be anything. I don't really have the time for this, but okay. So I make an appointment and I go in and I am talking to the nurse or the tech. Sorry. I feel like I should know what your title is, but I'm talking to the doctor and she says, you know, we saw some things in your mammogram that look abnormal. It's likely a cyst, but we need to make sure that it's nothing more than a cyst. I'm like, it's totally nothing. So they put this long needle into my boob and they extract a piece of the mass. And she says, we're going to send this right over. We should have the results in the next 24 hours. I'm like, okay, great. Again, not panicking, not thinking anything that might be out of the ordinary. I'm sure this is just protocol. I'm sure they're just being extra cautious. I very much appreciate them doing their due diligence. And I go on my way. I expect the results within 24 hours. And when I don't get the results, I call them up and I'm like, hey, didn't get the results, just checking in. And she's like, it shouldn't have taken this long. And so I kind of put this on the back burner. I'm like, they'll call me when it's time. A week goes by. It's supposed to be 24 hours. A week goes by. I still don't hear. So I call them up. Still nothing. So I still haven't gotten my results. And I told Gibby, you know what? If this was serious, they would have called me by now. So I'm just going to assume it just got tied up somewhere. They just haven't gotten around to it because it's not that big of a deal. And I'm just going to let them call me when they call me. And I put it out of my mind. I put it out of my mind. Not because I was in denial. Completely the opposite. I was so convinced that everything was A-okay that there was nothing to report. No news is good news. Now it's the first of the year and I am in a great mood. Man, 2023 is just this year is just going to be my year. I had just celebrated a year of sobriety. I had spent the last 12 months in recovery, in my own healing, in my own work on myself. And I just was like, man, God is going to reward me with something big, something big this year. Like I felt it in my gut. I was like, something big's about to break. It's going to be good because I didn't just do all of that work on myself, on my heart, mind, and soul for nothing. And because I'm ambitious and because I always have work on the brain, I was like, oh, it's going to be a big job. I'm about to get a big job. Good Morning America's going to call me. And things were about to blow up. I just felt it. I was like, oh, this is going to be big. And it was big and it did blow up, just not in the way that I thought, right? Isn't that how it always works? And then I get the phone call from my doctor. And I'm at work. I'm about to go on set. And I tell my director, hey, Bentley, I need to take this call really quick. It'll be 2 seconds. In my mind, I was like, it's 2 seconds. She's going to be like, everything's good. Go on with your life. We'll see you for your mammogram in a year. So I'm like, I'll be right back. And she says, and she apologizes. She says, I'm so sorry, Kristina, that it's taken us so long to get back to you. And unfortunately, it's not the news that we were hoping for. You have cancer. You have breast cancer. And everything she said after that didn't register. She gave me a lot of information. I don't even know that I had the wherewithal to write it down. I wasn't expecting a phone call like this. And so she's talking and she's giving me information. None of it is registering. And when she finishes, she says, do you have any questions? And I just remember saying, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand what this means. And what am I supposed to do? And I hang up the phone And I walk out onto set and I said, okay, I'm ready. And I smile and I speak and I finish the show. My ability to compartmentalize is impressive. And then I called Gibby and I said, I heard from the doctor and it's cancer. And he said things that didn't register. I think he said, we'll get through this. And then as soon as he said, how are you feeling? I said, I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. Because I can't cry right now. I can't be scared. And I can't cry. And I just am not in a place to process this right now. And I hung up. So it turns out the reason it took so long for me to get the results is because the kind of breast cancer that I was diagnosed with is an extremely rare kind of breast cancer. It's called an angiosarcoma, and it is found in like 0.01% of all breast cancers. The pathologists who had looked at the biopsy had to send it out for second and third opinions to figure out what it was. And what we realized, it was a very aggressive breast cancer. So a year prior, 365-ish days prior, I'd had my mammogram and it came back clear. And so in that year, it had grown to a robin's egg sized mass. Had I not gone to get my mammogram that year, had I put it off for one more year, like, oh, it's fine, I'm fine, I don't know where I would be right now. So I get the diagnosis. First thing I do is see a breast surgeon, and he says our first course of action is to remove this mass as quickly as possible, and it's going to be a lumpectomy. So lumpectomy basically means the surgeon is going in to remove just the mass and what is around the mass. They're going to pull that out, and I will be cancer free. So all of that was super terrifying, right? But it's moving so fast. I get the diagnosis. Within a couple of days, I'm going to see the breast surgeon. He schedules the lumpectomy within just a couple of weeks. I go in for surgery. We pull out the mass. We send it in for testing. Now, at this point, I'm assuming that we pull out the mass. There might be a little indentation in my breast, but that's it. And I think it's over. I go back a week later, assuming that part is over. And the next plan of action will be chemo and or radiation. But I assume that the worst of that part is over. Now it's the next step. And go to the appointment. He brings out the pathology report and he said, well, this is not the news that we had hoped for. I'm sorry, what? We already got the news that we weren't hoping for, that I had breast cancer. We have more news like that. And he said that the pathology report found that simply by taking out the mass, it did not get all of the cancer cells. So basically they take out the mass and they take out the margins, like just the little bit right around it. And then they test those margins to see if there's any cancer in those margins. And they found more cancer cells in those margins. He says we have to do a unilateral mastectomy, which means they have to completely remove my right boob. I still haven't decided if boob or breast is better. Both sound weird to me. And I'm like, what? Everything just feels so confusing. Nothing is registering. And I'm like traumatized. I'm mortified. I'm like, wait, now we're removing parts of my body? And I'm thinking, no, no. And he says to me, my only job is to make sure that you are here for as long as possible for your two little boys. And this is the only way I know how to do that. Well, take my right arm if you have to, because I'm not leaving my two little boys behind. I had thought I was coming home from that appointment cancer free. The worst of it was over. And because I thought the worst of it was over, I had shared with my community. I had at first decided not to tell anybody except for my husband. And then I allowed him to share with his family because I knew that he needed that support, but not me, not Kristina. I don't need support. I don't need phone calls. I don't need flowers. I don't need well wishes. Just leave me alone. And I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. And so I just didn't really tell anybody. And then I started telling people because I thought the worst was over. And then I find out the worst is not over. So we scheduled my unilateral mastectomy for about a month later. And so in those 4 weeks, I just had to continue to exist in these two really weird places. On the one hand, I am mommy and I am working and I am potty training and I am going to soccer games and I am cooking and I am doing all the things that I normally do. And on the other hand, I'm walking in slow motion. I feel like I'm walking through molasses because I'm in a daze. I'm in confusion. I'm scared. I feel betrayed by my body. And so it was like my brain was split. Like, go continue to live. And simultaneously, what the is going on? What? I have cancer. I could die. And so the next 4 weeks were bizarre. They were very bizarre. And I tried to keep everything very normal for my kids. I did not tell my children. I've yet to tell my children, although I will be telling them very soon. But I did not want to scare them. They were little. They wouldn't have understood. You know, Mateo, who was a little bit older, what he knew about cancer had taken his popo away. My father-in-law was a 3-time cancer survivor and had died a few years prior. And so that's what he knew about cancer. And so I just didn't want to do that to them. And my husband and I made that decision. We also took it one step at a time. They didn't need to know about the surgery. They didn't need to know about the cancer. We had decided that if I had to go through chemo and maybe I had, there were physical changes, like I lost my hair or I was physically sick, that maybe we would have to be more transparent with them. But early on, we just decided that it wasn't necessary to share that with them. So we didn't. And then I went in for my surgery. And that was the chapter, that was the excerpt that I just shared with y'all. And it really wasn't until that moment on the bathroom floor with the shower running and the steam filling up that room that I really came to terms with what had transpired over the last 4 months. 4 months. I mean, it moved quickly. It moved very quickly. And spoiler, it wasn't Good Morning America that was my big thing. It was breast cancer. But my instincts weren't wrong. My instincts weren't wrong. I had done some serious work. That year of sobriety, that rock bottom moment, that turning my life around, surrendering to God, doing some serious hard work and heart work prepared me for more than any job that might have come my way. I was ready. I was ready for this fight. And this is when I know that God exists. Right? Does God exist so that nothing bad happens to us? No. But does God exist to walk, to help, to guide, and to prepare us for what life has for us? Absolutely. Absolutely. I hit that rock bottom. I was saved and surrendered to God to get me through this fight. I was the healthiest I could have been because I'd stopped drinking. Mentally, I was clear. Emotionally, I was clear. Spiritually, I was stronger than ever. And I was ready for that fight. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Ultimately, after my surgery, it was decided that I wouldn't have to go through chemo the kind of cancer that I had, because it is so rare, there isn't really a direct roadmap for it. And so my team, led by my oncologist, decided that it could cause more damage than be helpful. And then I would go through 6 weeks of radiation, which I still don't really understand what radiation does, but but here's what I know is that I'm cancer free. I'd lost a part of my body, but I was cancer free. And man, did I just want to live life, live, laugh, love the crap out of life. I wanted to live the crap out of life. I had this newfound appreciation for living that I'd never had before. This is how I describe it. It was like in The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy's life is black and white, and then she goes through this tornado, and when she lands, she opens the door and everything is in Technicolor. Like, that's how it felt for me. Like, everything before this was in black and white, and now all of a sudden everything was so vibrant. The sky was bluer, the grass was greener. That's how I describe it. Everything came into focus for me after I survived breast cancer. I loved my children more, if that was even possible, if that even makes sense, because of course I love my children so much. Everything that I did during that time always was with my children in mind, those two beautiful little faces. But like, I felt everything so deeply. I was more present. I was more grounded. I was more in awe of everyday moments. And it gave me a perspective on life that I had never really known before. 6 months prior, the best thing that could have happened to me was a new job, was for Good Morning America to call me. That was the best thing that could have happened to me. And here I am 6 months later, and I'm like, no, the best thing that could happen to me is that I get to wake up again, is that I get to be here for my children, is that I get to be here for my family. That is the best thing that could happen today, right? How often do we think these external things will bring us joy, or will bring us fulfillment, or will bring us peace of mind? And when we're faced with the possibility of not even being able to be here another day, all of a sudden, the simple things just seem so much more worth it. The important things all of a sudden are magnified. And I continue to have this wonder and this gratitude and joy and peace that I've never had before. When you're faced with life or death, and you recognize just how fickle life can be, and just how one choice can change the trajectory of your life, both good or bad, right? I think about the one choice to go in for my mammogram, or the choice not to go in that year, and how differently my life might look based on that one choice. And now all of a sudden, life doesn't seem so passive. It doesn't just seem like, oh, life is just happening. It's like life is happening, and we should be aware of it, and we should be a part of it, because you just don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And so when I say that breast cancer is quite possibly the best thing that's ever happened to me, I don't say that lightly. I mean it because everything that is important in my life came right up to the surface. All the things that I thought were important, like work and career and an ambition and money and material things, all of a sudden they like took a back seat. And like, what's the most important thing in my life is my family, period. God, you give me my family, and that's all I need. That's all I want. And so it really changed my perspective on what's important in life. And so when I came back from radiation and was ready to like hit the ground running and get back to life and fully enjoy it and embrace it and appreciate it, God says, oh, by the way, I'm taking your job away too. My show is canceled. My work. Goodbye. I think there's two ways that I could have looked at it, right? I could have been like, what? Like, am I not going to catch a break here? I go through rock bottom. I go through breast cancer. I lost a part of my body, and now you're taking away my work. Now I'm unemployed. Now I'm jobless. Like, can I catch a break? And by then I was like, well, this isn't even the worst news I've gotten this year. That's what I said when my show was canceled. When I found out I was out of a job, and I was like, this isn't even the worst thing that's happened to me in the last 6 months. But by then I just was like, what else you got? What else you growing me for? How else are you refining me? How else are you going to strengthen me? In which other ways am I going to have to rely on you totally and completely in faith and in trust? Oh, I'm talking to God, by the way. If I didn't make that clear. Like, I got my life and I got my family, I got my health, I got my kids. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And while initially I didn't want to share my experience because I was in my own world processing everything that I was kind of going through on the day to day, and just really didn't want any outside influences coming into my space, even though I know so much of it would have been support and love, I just really kind of had to hold it close until I had come out on the other side. And that is when I shared my story. I did a short documentary with the help of my husband and my brother-in-law, helped me put together a short film about my experience. And then I just really kind of decided that I'd been given a platform and a gift of communication and storytelling, and that in sharing my story, that would help other women, inspire them to go get their mammogram, inspire them to not forget, inspire women who are going through something similar. And so that's why I use my voice and my platform to advocate for early detection for me in especially marginalized communities who don't always have access to healthcare and to resources, and in my own culture, recognizing that there is a disconnect in the Hispanic community when it comes to early detection. And so I use my platform to advocate for that and to bring awareness to that. And that's given me purpose. Yes, I lost a part of my body, but what I gained in life, in perspective, in gratitude, far surpasses my boob. It really does. Here's what's really interesting is that after I had my surgery, my surgeon had told me that reconstruction, of course, was available to me. And I always thought that, yes, I cannot be the uniboobed TV host. I will get reconstruction as soon as I possibly can. It's been 2.5 years. I've not gotten reconstruction, not because I'm against it, not because I'm for it. It's because it hasn't been the most important thing in my life. And so I always say, like, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do it this year. Maybe it'll be next year. But I don't know, maybe for some women who have gone through it and have gotten reconstruction, it's made the blow a little bit softer. For me, it's a daily reminder, right? What I've been through, but it doesn't define my womanhood. It doesn't define how I look at my body any differently. It doesn't bother me. It's called a prosthetic. After I had my surgery and people knew about it, they would automatically look at my chest, right? And I have a prosthetic. Sorry, I don't mean to just keep grabbing myself, but I have a prosthetic. And immediately they'd be like, how are you? And they would look at my boob and then they would look back up my eyes. They'd be like, wait, I thought you lost your boob. Why do you have a boob? This is so weird. I have a prosthetic. Her name is Nipsey. She was named by my friend Katie, and her name is Nipsey, and she is the same color as my skin. She is brown little Nipsey. Should I bring her out? Is this weird? See if I can bring her out. It's like breastfeeding. I'm just gonna bring her out. All right, hold on. Ugh, if you're not watching this on YouTube, man, you're missing out. Okay, here is Nipsey. And she just fits right in my boob, right in my bra. There we go. She just goes right there. I didn't plan on showing you my boob. I didn't plan on that, but I mean, here we are, right? Will that make the cut? I don't know. But yeah, no, God is good, man. God is good. I am grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for the perspective. I'm grateful for the strength that God gave me to get through that. I'm grateful for the year prior when he got me sober. And he's like, look, lady, this is not going to end well. I got something big coming. And I'm like, oh, is it Good Morning America? Sure. Keep thinking that. I got something big for you. So I'm going to need you to get into training. I'm going to need you to show up. I'm going to need you to get good. I'm going to need you to get healthy. I'm going to need you to rely on me. Oh, good. It's a Good Morning America. Oh my God, it must be Good Morning America. Sure. Whatever it's going to take to get you healthy. And yeah, it was these conversations that I had with God that like really changed my relationship with my higher power. Yeah. So next week, it seems apropos to finish out my limited series with how my relationship started and then grew with God, how losing everything helped me find my faith that has changed my life in ways that I had no idea were even possible. So I'm just going to leave you with this. Early detection saves lives. Please don't put off your mammograms. It's happening to women younger and younger. So pay attention to your bodies. Don't ignore it. Take care of you. And if you don't take care of you for you, take care of you for those who love you, because they deserve to have you around. So thanks, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Hey, you're still here. Man, your dedication to get to the end, that's inspiring. I'd be so grateful if you hit that follow button and share this episode. And if you really loved it, hey, leave a review, because validation is my love language. Until next time, in the immortal words of Journey, don't stop believing.